All right, Jake Fisher of the Steinline just put out a report sort of detailing what the Celtics trade plans could look like this summer. Um, Most notably, I would say, is he basically all but confirmed the reality that one of Jrue Holiday or Kristaps Porzingis will probably be traded this summer. There was a piece of it that said, a Western Conference exec he talks to said you can't break up a team that could be going for a three-peat. That's if they win. But at the same time, he also said one team cap expert said they're going to have to trade some guys at some point. And Fisher reported the two major salaries that league figures are monitoring in possible trades: Kristaps Porzingis, Andrew Holiday. It just seems that one of them has to be traded if the Celtics want to get under the second apron. I can look at Spot Track and tell you the second apron tracker. The Celtics are projected to be very, very well over the second apron. They're projected to be 17.7 million over the second apron. That's before re-signing Al Horford. That's before re-signing Luke Cornett. That's before any of that can happen. And I don't know if that includes Nimi's salary either, because it's not guaranteed. And so I don't know if Spot Track accounts for that. So there's a lot of stuff that they're going to have to figure out. And one way to, I don't want to say easily fix that, but to fix it relatively comfortably is trading one of your two $30 million salaries. That's what Jake Fisher reports that teams are monitoring now. So it seems like we might officially have a KP or Jrue trade this summer, and we all could kind of like speculate that, but this just kind of makes it more real.
Yeah, are we teams? Because I feel like we've been monitoring it as well, as much as we can from afar. It felt like it was always going to be something along this line, and I don't think what we're getting from Fisher today is anything concrete. It's just outlining the most realistic avenues for this team to take, with the obvious, just massive payday looming over above, where they're going to have to shell out so much money next league year. The problem with both of these avenues, or I wouldn't even say problem. I would say the thing that takes the sweetness off of it, if I get the words out, my God, is that neither one of these guys have had a season where you're chomping at the bit. Oh my God, we have to trade for them. Porzingis has been pretty good when he plays, especially lately. This most recent stretch from him has been the best we've seen maybe ever since he joined the Celtics. Jrue Holiday has been on and off injured all year. When he's played, he hasn't been quite the player he was last year. It's obvious that going down the line, that contract is going to become less and less valuable, which is tough for teams to take on willingly. So whatever you get back in return is not going to be exciting. I don't think the fan base is going to feel like the team got the best deal in return when the trade or trades happen. And that's what makes this all very difficult. And as mentioned, there's still a lot to be seen. Before we started, Jack says, I just don't want to talk about trades right now. This stuff is not super relevant at the moment. It is kind of relevant to look ahead, but the fact of the matter is, if they win, as Fisher writes, it's near impossible to be like, all right, well, we're done. Like, they kind of have to run it back.
Well, no, I don't think that's. Let me provide some context to that point, because I don't think that's exactly what was being said. That piece of you can't break up a team going for a three-peat came after a tidbit where he basically said they're not trading Jaylen Brown. It said, let me read it here. To be clear, no one is forecasting a Doncic-sized change of roster course from the Celtics anytime soon. Several league figures with knowledge of Boston's thinking have remained adamant about Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown continuing to be the unquestioned on-court pillars of this franchise, despite the wishful thinking from some teams out there that Brown would somehow be made available this summer. And if the Celtics are able to go back-to-back during the forthcoming playoff tournament, it figures to be even more of a moot point. You can't break up a team that is going for a three-peat. So that's basically saying they're not trading Jaylen Brown. And so I think that's the biggest thing. I think they're going to trade KP or Jrue regardless of that. Like, you literally had Wick less than 2 weeks ago say no team is going to be second apron for more than 2 years. Wick went on the Greg Hill show and said, I predict for the next 40 years of the CBA that no team will stay in the second apron for more than 2 years. Well, guess what? The Celtics have been a second apron team for 2 years. So if you're like, he's talking about them right now. They will not be a second apron team next year. If they do, and it has nothing to do with not my money, by the way. Like, Wick Rosbeck went on the radio and said that he's like, to be clear, like, this is not a matter of pay or won't pay. It is a matter of the CBA restrictions completely screwing you if you do it for more than 2 years. And so I think you're not going to break up a team going for 3-peat has more to do with the fact that they're not going to trade Jalen or Jason. I don't think they're going to trade Jalen Grayson even if they lose. Like, it just doesn't make sense. You have a perfectly built
Me
1-2
neither.
punch on offense and defense. I think JB, or excuse me, I just think a Jrue or KP trade's pretty inevitable.
Yeah, it's sad because I like both those guys too. They've both been nothing but good soldiers since joining the team last year. They were a big part of why the team was so successful so fast. They were very unselfish. They willingly took on smaller roles and did the dirty work, specifically Holiday. That dude just does everything they ask him to do. And losing a player with that sort of pedigree, where he's been around for so long, he's been a sustained good player for so long, is going to be something the team misses now. In relation to the Holiday stuff here, we did get a little sprinkle that you'll love, Jack, which is they feel like Shireman softens that blow. Like, they're so excited about his development and how he's done in Maine this year that they feel like he may be able to take on some of the burden that Holiday has day to day, which, I mean, you can see a little bit of. I don't think you're going to get that same defensive know-how and just feel for the game on that side of the ball, but he is a very good passer. If offensively, which is what they do, you really just ask Holiday to be a connector at times, you could certainly ask Shireman to do that. He's shown he can do that in garbage time, in real time. He's just somebody who always seems to make the smart play, which is really like found money thing from a rookie. You don't always get that. That's not a guarantee. You can't take that for granted. So that's something else to watch as well, especially over this last, what do they have, 9 games left?
Yeah. I'm very in on Sherman. I think he's a really good player. Like, I think he could turn into the Luke Cornett version of a guard, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? Like, no one really understands just how impactful he is unless you actually watch the games. You know what I'm saying, though? Like, Luke Cornett
Yeah.
is phenomenal. Like, I truly think he's one of the best backup centers in the NBA, but no one really talks about it because it's boring, right? He's Luke Cornett. Actually, now that I say that out loud, Shyman is anything but boring. This dude is probably the most. Okay, you know I hate this
Dude
word.
rocks.
Shyman, he probably has more aura than anybody on the team.
Shireman aura. I don't know if I would be like aura for Shireman, but he's
He
certainly
showboats
somebody
more than
that is
anybody.
just
More than anybody.
that dude
Per
is a
minute.
troll.
Per minute.
Remember he yelled at the Sixers bench or whatever? He was
Yeah.
like doing the 3-point gun at them.
Dude, he broke out a rondo like thing in the middle of the game. Like, are you kidding
After
me?
he traveled, by the way. He just blatantly
Did he?
travels. They don't call it. And then he's like, watch this.
Oh man. But the last little thing from this Jake Fisher article that I think is also important to note is that when going over some of the potential trades, they brought up Derrick White, but only in the context of it's not going to be Derrick White. He wrote, landing both former All-Stars was a masterstroke from genius from Stevens last summer, talking about KP and Jrue. Pagliuca labeled the two maneuvers in conjunction with the swiping Derrick White at the 22 trade deadline as the trifecta, quote unquote. Team officials have particularly reveled in how the White deal came together during the final minutes before the buzzer sounded. This is a quote from Pags. Brad walked out and came back in and said, "Let's do it." We called them back within a minute and a half. It was quick, decisive decision in the war room. It's amazing that Brad did that. White would seemingly generate the most value of the three if he were to be made available after the playoffs, but his name wasn't mentioned once to me in reporting out this story. So it doesn't sound like Derrick White is going to be even in consideration for trades. It makes sense. He's the youngest of that three-man unit of him, Jrue, and KP. He is probably the most consistent in terms of production on both ends. He's healthier than Kristaps Porzingis. He's just a better offensive player. And Jrue, he's also a better offensive player than Jrue at this point. He's a more versatile piece to put next to Jason and Jalen. It just doesn't make sense to trade Derrick White. And he's on the cheapest contract, I think, of the three. Actually, KP's might be a little cheaper, but it's pretty close. Regardless, doesn't sound like they're trading Derrick White. And that's kind of the whole article. It just sounds like Jrue or KP is going to get traded this summer. Jalen doesn't sound like he's going anywhere. Derrick doesn't sound like he's going anywhere. Let us know what you think down in the comments. It's kind of an unfortunate reality, but it is what it is. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and I'll let Sam take it out.
Thank you very much for listening and watching. Make sure you leave a like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell. We're here every day with new content. Full pods drop Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday. Game recaps the morning after each game. Other videos like this one in between. To keep you up to date with all things Celtics, Jack and I are streaming live for a half hour before each tip-off for pregame. Come hang out in the chat. It's a ton of fun. You can watch us lose at Prize Picks, watch us win and compete at GeoGuessr. Don't miss any of it. You can also find us on Spotify and Apple. All pods and recaps are up there. So if you just want the audio versions, go ahead, follow. They'll go right to your feed. Leave a 5-star review and tell your friends. We'd appreciate that. You can email us, hbtcpod@gmail.com. Tell us what you think they should do over the summer. hbtcpod@gmail.com. Our socials are at How About Them C's for Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Facebook's the name of the podcast. All streams are there. They're on YouTube. They're on Twitter. Twitter's at Jackson NBA. His TikTok is at Jackson NBA. He's pumping out good content over there as well. And you can find me on Twitter at Sam LaFrance NBA. That's it for us. Bye.
Tic-tac-toe.